change the name of the loan. In fact, what's in here, there are a couple of other scenarios, and I'm gonna leave it up to you to look around at these different things. But I have about 30 different templates for all different kinds of loans and different product mixes that you can do, and all of your managers will have them, and I'll put them on MS Mail, and what they can do is just forward the MS Mail to you so that you'll have this great big MS Mail full of Excel spreadsheets and Word documents that you can just go hog wild with. Okay? But the answer is yes, and I've already got them built. So I've been using these for a long time. I mean, I'm not talking about something I didn't do. These helped me a lot because I did not like. I mean, I came from a business where we relied a lot on technology, and when I first came into the bank and saw how we were doing business, I couldn't believe it, and I thought, man, what an opportunity to, not have to work real hard and do real well. But I ended up working hard and I did well, but I was building this stuff as I went along, and the job kept getting easier and easier. And as you figure out ways to leverage yourself against the market, you'll have a couple of choices to make. I am doing enough volume and I make enough money. Now I'm going to focus on my quality of life. And that'd be great to do. Or the flip side is, I've got it going. I'm going to keep doing this until I decide to do something else. So do me a favor and jump right back to the very first thing behind the marketing tab, which is this letter. Example. This is something that takes a comparative analysis, takes bank X and us, and backs into how much they'd have to lower their credit products to match us when they look at what I call the real dollar value of banking with Wells. Because we do have a competitive advantage with the managed sweep right now, and we could come up with different competitive advantages. What this allows you to do is take this and give it to them, because the whole power of the printed word and being able to reuse this information, we've bagged some really nice pieces of business by doing this because it gives people the full context of the banking relationship. What happens so often is we walk into a call and someone says, rates, fees, and we fall into the trap rather than stepping back for a second and trying to frame it in a larger context, okay? And these are just tools for you to do it. If you'll flip to the very next thing here, I want to show you one other thing, and it's also a mistake that I made. This is an hour of your time worth $170,000. That's what I would call a pattern, or actually what Tony Robbins would probably call a pattern interrupt. It gets people to go, hey, wait a second. The example is not this letter, although it's one example for you to use. This signature is an electronic image. I didn't sign this letter. I went to Kinko's a long time ago, signed a piece of paper, they scanned it for me. If you have that on your computer in any document, you can just drop in your signature. You can even do the Wells Fargo letterhead up there as long as you adhere to franchise standards. That way you never have to actually do anything physical, because if you're dealing primarily by fax, you don't have to worry if it's on buff-colored paper because it rolls out laser quality on their fax machine. It's going to come out on white paper anyway. But the thing here is you don't have to sign this. The mistake that I made is when I sent all these templates out to some of the area managers and different people, I sent my electronic signature along with it. So someone could send out this, you're approved, and you have my name on it, Brad. And they could put my signature in there, and then I'm in big trouble. So just be careful about that if you use your electronic signature, okay? If you will go to the next loan scenario that's laid side by side just behind the one that we just did, I want to just tell a quick story about this. This was a deal. It was an SBA construction loan that Mark Wilhelm and I were involved in. It looks like this, except it's got a lot of detail. Yeah, you've got it there. One thing that information technology and leveraging your laptop will give you, especially if you're one of the newer people, is it makes you appear as an instant expert, or at least even if you are an expert, it gives you the ability to do the same things over and not have to always go back to the manual. This was an example in a real estate loan where we were doing construction and he was frustrated. Originally, we said we can't match the rate. We're not interested. But what happened was the bank he was dealing with, because we had given them kind of a rough thumbnail sketch, Mark had, Wilhelm, of all the rates and fees, and we got out of the deal. The guy called back finally and said, can you send me what the cost should be and everything? And we sent him this. And it gave him the narrative. Inspections are like this. This is what you can expect this to cost. This is how much the appraisal is. I mean, you're talking about almost $40,000 in fees, and you would think it would freak somebody out. And we sent it over thinking, well, at least we'll give them full disclosure. And what we found, a true story, you can ask Mark Wilhelm, the guy came back to us because who we were competing against, a very big bank, by the way, had gone back 3 times and kept upping the ante. Oh, I forgot to ask you for this. Forgot to ask you for that. And so a lot of times, if you're going to use these templates, I would use them in conjunction with the question. So if it's a construction loan, you know you have this template. How many construction loans has my competitor done? Ask them that. Because if they're not using the same thing, you at least look like you've done a whole bunch because you're using the information, you know. And again, the binder here is just an example. There are a lot of different templates, but they're just examples of things that you can do on the fly so that you don't spend your time doing this. You spend your time doing deals, you know. You can embed this marketing process. Okay, just a couple of other examples in there. If you will, please skip the next example that has the graph and go to the one that's the letter. And behind that letter, just so you know when you're in the right place, behind that letter, you'll see something that looks like that. Okay? This is a cover letter to a comparative financing analysis. It's a software tool, and it was developed by a BFO, me. Point being, once you learn how to use this stuff, it's only your imagination that limits you. I mean, if you figure out something, what I found was I was out in the market, and I was getting calls from a lot of brokers because I was doing the lunch thing and getting to know them, and they kept calling me. What are rates this week? How much are the payments? I got this property, and I'm thinking about doing this. So over time, what I did is I went out and got all their listings, and then I built this thing, and I went back, and they started looking at, no, I'd like it that way, and I'd like it this way, and I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to give them a property-specific or a listing-specific overview of all their properties. Some way to have them be my partner, even if I'm not paying referral fees, because that's a big issue. Well, I built this, and I knew I'd hit a home run when the brokers were calling, going, I've got a call at 5 o'clock, this afternoon, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Can you send it to me? We just lowered the listing price. Can you generate another one of those things for me? Because what they're doing with their clients is they're going out and saying, here's a bunch of different loan options on this particular property, so that the buyer then is almost shopping for different kinds of loans. If they're not going to occupy the building, but they're a small business owner, they can get an investor deal, and the whole product suite. I don't have to go into that. But the point that I want to make is not only can you be creative, the reason that I started with the meal and I didn't go into how to make it today is that once you know you want to do something, I spent a lot of time on technical support with Microsoft as I built this, going, I know it can do this. I know I can take this data table over here and do that. I know it can do that. And I just had to figure it out. I stayed up all night long, all the time, building this stuff, and that's just something you're going to have to do. But once you see some of the possibilities, you can apply it to yourself, and you can be really powerful in the marketplace. One example of the nuts and bolts behind Microsoft Access. So if you flip to the next page, what you'll find is this is one listing. And so if this person had 20 listings, they'd get 20 of these from me in a month. And what this does is it gives them a property-specific overview and all of our loans across there. And it's pretty good. There's a session tomorrow. We're going to go through this in more detail. But you guys will have this. You'll have access to it from your desktops. And you can use it however you want to go about it in your market. This is the nuts and bolts. The reason is relational databases are something you are going to want to learn, because you don't want to just rely on CERM to be able to look at data and figure out what's going on in your market. If you see something moving, you can just attack the market. You can take the data, and what this does is it's a relational database. I just gave it to you as an example of what it looks like in Microsoft Access and what Microsoft Access is for. Microsoft Access is a spreadsheet on steroids. And the reason is it takes lots of different spreadsheet data and lets you bounce them up against each other and say, okay, I want everybody that's not in this table, but maybe in that table. And so you can fill in the blanks. I want everybody that has borrowed and didn't. It's just like running a query in Roadrunner, except this is for when you're dealing with influencers and things like that. The next page is actually one of the formulas in the CFA, just to give you a sense of the kind of stuff you can build in there. It's like you're trying to do a moonshot. We're going to talk about fax distribution a little bit later. I'm back at the screen. You don't have to jump back here with me. We're going to talk about fax distribution a little bit later. But everything that I've just showed you, you can send from your desktop. It's not like you have to go over and run mailing labels and do all this kind of stuff. I think you'll find the fax machine can be one of your best friends. And also, I'm introducing you to my assistant. I have a whole bunch of BFOs. I think I have 15, and I don't have an admin. And while I am spread too thin, for a long time. Even when I was just in the field doing deals, the thing that I found was I could get a lot more done because I could reuse data and I could use tools like these to leverage myself against the market. And that's the theme that I want to leave you with for sure.